All right, fam, welcome back. Before we go into things, I want to thank our sponsor, Keen. If you have been looking for answers in different areas of your life, whether it's love, finances, career, relationships, anything like that, Keen is a platform where you can browse different types of readers via chat or phone call. So you can check out their different specialties and pick somebody that you think really resonates with you. And again, if you have a specific category you want to ask a question about, you can browse readers based on that. So you can head over to my link, trykeen.com/RCC. You'll get your first 10 minutes of your reading for only $1.99, which adds up to over $99 in savings. Again, you can browse through different tarot readers, which is what I enjoy getting readings about. And again, you can go for a general reading, or if you have a specific question or something on your mind that you want to get figured out, it's just a really great way to tap into the spirituality side of things and get those answers. So head over to trykeen.com/RCC and get your first 10 minutes for only $1.99. Hope you guys enjoy. Bye. Hey there, welcome to Rave Culture Cast, a podcast dedicated to fans of EDM and music festival culture. My name is Emma Capotis, a festival fanatic and dance music enthusiast who turned my passion for raving into an online career working with some of the biggest names in the industry. Festival tips, advice, hot topics, industry news, music, and more are all discussed here. Think of me as your unofficial rave mom, here to help you navigate the EDM community and festival world. Tune in every Wednesday for your weekly dose of peace, love, unity, and respect. Hey guys, welcome back to Rave Culture Cast, your weekly guide to the EDM community, music festivals, and more. I am your host, Emma Capotis. Happy Wednesday, fam. Today, I have an incredible interview with a friend of mine who is super talented and hardworking music industry professional who I had the pleasure of working with at Slumberland Festival this past fall, Kayla Harvey. Kayla is an agent at Degy Entertainment and an industry professional with a background in music festivals and events, artist management, and public relations. So she's touched all aspects of this industry. She's also a mom of 3 based in Florida, juggling all of these things. I do not know how she does it, but she is absolutely incredible. So we are going to be talking with her today about all things, like I said, music festivals, artist management, being an agent, public relations, like really working your way through this industry and how to get these different roles, what it's like working in all of them. So if you're somebody who is interested in being in this industry, I think you guys will really enjoy this episode. With all that being said, let's dive in. All right, you guys, welcome back to Rave Culture Cast. Today, I am super excited to have an amazingly talented, creative, very hardworking music industry professional who I had the pleasure of working with at Slumberland Festival this past year. Kayla is an agent at Degy Entertainment, an industry professional with a background in all things music festivals and events, artist management, public relations. Also a mom of 3 from Florida. I don't know how she does everything, but we're going to talk about it today because she's superwoman in my eyes. So welcome to the podcast, Kayla Harvey.
Yay, I'm so excited to finally be jumping on. I mean, I've been watching Wave Culture Cast for a while now, and we've worked together. So yay, I'm excited.
I'm so pumped. No, I'm so glad we could do this. And just to kick things off, I know it's been a while since I saw you in well, not that long, a couple months, but how is your new year going? Like, how has this month been for you?
Man, I mean, it's been so good. We saw each other at Slumberland, took a little break for the holidays. I worked over New Year's on a show that I really loved. And I shortly after started at Degy as an agent and signing on new artists and things like that. So it's been really busy since we last saw each other, but all.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. And when I was kind of like writing my questions and doing everything, like I know you've touched so many different areas of this industry. So I'm really excited to dive into this because I feel like there's a lot of people who listen who ask for, like, they either ask like what careers there are in this industry or like how to get involved in this industry. And I feel like there's just so many different ways you could go about it. So I figured we could kind of like obviously talk about all the things that you've done so far. But when did you know you wanted to like work in this industry? Was it always music for you?
I think it has always been music for me. As a teenager, I was going to like the under 21 club shows and going out with my
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. When I was 17, I ran away from home with my best friend to go to Warp Tour. My mom was,
Nice.
and for me, I'm very much like the good girl, never had detention in high school, never did anything wrong. And so I was like filled with anxiety, but like, I don't know, something just told me you should just do it anyway. And we got there. It was amazing. I was like, I've never seen music at this scale. There's multiple stages. Everybody's listening to the same things. Like everyone's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I just caught the festival bug at Warp Tour, and I was like, I can't believe this is someone's job. Like someone gets to do this. They get to travel around. Um, my brother is a musician. He can sing. He's very talented. I did not get that gene. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
if I can't be the artist, I think I can like support artists and work in this industry in some other way. And so, once I just kind of became obsessed with the scene after those early experiences, I was like, well, how do I do it? Do I become a manager, an agent? Do I do PR? Do I
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of I started making like press kits for local bands, like people that I knew. I would just like do promo things for them and do like social media management, which then was like managing MySpace pages.
Right, right.
So I sort of just like, I don't know, I guess I sort of just dove in and didn't know if it would become my career, but I knew I loved it. So that's where I
Right. Oh, that's amazing. Isn't it funny though how like I feel like Warp Tour, there's a couple different events that I feel like were catalysts for a lot of people,
started.
but Warp Tour definitely being one of them. And especially with the events that you work on now, like looking back on how Warp Tour was run, do you think it just built character that we were just like baking out in parking lots
Oh,
at these festivals?
absolutely. I think about that a lot, and I'm like, we've come so far, but so
Yeah.
people my age, I'm about to be 35. So many people my age that are in this industry kind of had the same story. They went to Warp Tour when they were kids, and it was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is where I want to be. So I think it really shaped our industry in an interesting way that so many of us started there, and just sort of learned the ropes from there.
Right.
I don't know. I always look on Warp Tour with fond memories. This past weekend was at a conference and I got to meet the guys from 303, and they were on Warp Tour a little bit after,
Yeah.
but we
Yep.
were talking about like, this is sort of where it starts. Like some of those early industry connections just came from Warp Tour, and we owe
Mm-hmm.
so much of that to like the genius of Kevin Lineman and the
Seriously.
team behind Warp Tour.
Yeah, it just was like, I don't know. It was just, I don't know how it would be received now. I know there's like other like rock festivals kind of popping up, but it just was such a, just like a time to kind of like be alive. You know what I mean? Like it just was there. I agree with you. Like, I don't know if I can hang now at Warp Tour, but what it was at the time. And like you said, I'm sure there's a lot of other people too who wanted a career after they left that. Like I even just wanted to work on I didn't even know what it was. I was like, I just want to sell merch and go on their bus and like work for the band without even knowing what that career really was. But it just, there was some sort of like exciting energy about live events.
Yeah, it's sort of a time because we look at I recently had this conversation too. We look at where those like emo alternative kids went, and so many
Mm-hmm.
still in the Raven festival scene, maybe working in the industry, but it
Yeah.
feels like that live experience. I don't know. I don't know what other tours were coming before Warp Tour that sort of had the impact on our industry that one specifically did.
Right. And just how long it ran too.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the transition for you? Because if you were starting out with bands, like when did dance music enter the chat?
Oh, I mean, this conversation is being had a lot. I love from first to last and things like that. So when
Yeah.
kind of popped on the scene, I was really into that. I was and still am pretty into like dubstep and bass and things like that. I'm kind of more of a house girl now, like yourself, but
Hmm.
those early like bass and dubstep roots are really, I don't know, I think it sort of carried a lot of us over into where we're
Yeah.
now.
Oh, that's crazy. And so what were some of like those first roles after what you were doing? Because it sounded like you got involved in the local scene with like
Mhm.
promotion and social media help. And then what kind of transpired after that? What was the next role for you?
Yeah, I mean, so my local scene, I grew up in rural southern Maine. So there wasn't a lot going on outside of, and there was a hip hop scene, there was sort of a hardcore alternative emo scene. And so I just got to know a lot of people within that industry and started doing paid gigs, like writing press releases where they would pay me like $20 to write a press
Okay.
release. That and I'm like, man, people actually get paid for this. I can't believe it.
Right.
Do that. And then I decided to go to college for communications. I was like, this is the path. I'm going to be a publicist or something like that. Took a brief pause because I became a mom. I had my two oldest kids, and then I went back to school and I was like, well, what is the fastest path to not committing to any one career, but just being able to do a lot of different things? So I got a business and jumped back into the scene, again, doing PR, writing press releases, planning campaigns, creating press kits, things like that. So really PR is like the catalyst for everything else that I've done.
Yeah.
It really helped me when I transitioned into management a couple of years ago. PR was really the place that I started.
Oh, and what did you do? You still actually, this is a question. What did you enjoy about that role? And do you still enjoy like any of PR nowadays?
It's a lot of work. I think people don't know that crafting a story is always something fun. It's something interesting, and helping to build a brand is something that I really, really love. But it can be a lot of work. And I sort of like to have my hands in a million different pots. So going the management route and sort of like building PR into that made things a little bit more exciting for me.
Yeah. I like that though. I'm sure there's a lot of people in the industry that are the same way, but I'm like you as well, where like I just have to have multiple projects go. I don't think I could just be okay just having one role and that being it. I would go crazy.
No, I couldn't do that. And I did take a break for a little while, not even a break, but I was sort of side hustling, doing for brands and companies. And that turned into then taking another role within the music industry and doing like festival sponsorships and things like that. Cause I built these relationships with brands that had a ton of money to spend on campaigns, and hey, you can spend that money on this really cool experience and, interface with fans or potential customers face to face on site at an event where they already feel good. So PR brought me to management. It also brought me to festival sponsorship. So I'm grateful for that.
Interesting. Yeah. See, festival sponsorships, I feel like I definitely haven't talked about that a lot on this podcast, but I'm obviously getting more involved in that on the beatbox side of things. But I just feel like there's this whole other world to festivals, because you may only think about like the actual team itself and building the lineup and the curation, but thinking even on the whole other side, which is like the vendors and the performers and all these other things that make up the festival. Like, what were you working with, like food vendors or other kinds of brands that were related to festivals?
Yeah, there's a lot of liquor in festival sponsorship because
I figured.
budgets, they have the money to spend.
Right.
I've worked in a ton of different categories, a lot of different brands, worked with Beatbox, obviously. Box is another brand, that I've worked with on sponsorships. And it's like, if you can find an organic way for a brand to connect with an audience, the audience that they want to connect with, then you can build these deals that make sense for both sides, that the brand is benefiting from that new audience or re-engaging an audience, and then the audience benefiting from learning about and engaging with a brand that's going to help them, or do for them within their rave weekend. So it's and every deal is different. Every brand has different goals. And really, when I'm working on the sponsorship side, my job is to figure out what those goals are and where they can meet for both the festival and the brand. So
that makes sense.
Fun. It's fresh because every deal really is different.
Right. And you're learning so many different sides of like the festival industry as well. And what were some of the first festivals that you worked for or freelanced for?
Oh man, I dove feet first into festival scene working at Bonnaroo, which is massive, and there are departments, there are a million different people. That was a big one and it really for me only lasted a couple of years, because I was like, Bonnaroo is one that I want to go and enjoy. I don't necessarily want to work because it is much going on. I, for a little while, worked in marketing on some other smaller, more independent festivals. I sort of circled back to promo again on Swanee Halloween. When I first moved to Florida, I had a friend that was doing promo, and she was like, I know that you like work and get paid to do stuff for festivals, but I need more people on my promo team. And like, there's this festival called Halloween. So I dove into that one, and this is amazing. And then I sort of moved over the years from promo with Hula to the sponsorship department over there. And I think this year I'll be coming back in a little bit of a different capacity, but we'll definitely be at Hula again this year. So it's
I
a
love
ball.
it. Yeah, that's awesome. But at what point did you move to Florida? How many years ago was that?
Oh man, I've moved to Florida twice in my life. I moved for the
Okay.
first time in, I think it was 2009, left for a little bit, and then I moved back in I think like fall of 2014. So
Okay.
yeah, I've been here for a
Almost
hot minute.
10 years. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting because the Florida scene, I feel like I kind of know, obviously I'm not from there, but it is crazy to see just like these different markets of festivals. Like obviously Southern California like dominates with Insomniac and has all those events. And then where I'm at, there's not as like we have Izu and maybe Firefly is the closest and like Project Glow now. But Florida is just continues to surprise me with how many events that they continue to grow to. And it's pretty, and like the range of festivals that they have as well. Cause Halloween is considered more of like, would you say like multi-genre or like,
Definitely a
yeah.
multi. Obviously it's a string cheese festival, so you get that like
Mm-hmm.
grass Americana, all of that. But over the last few years, it's sort of leaned pretty electronic, which is great
Mm-hmm.
because the best of both worlds. A lot of pop. I mean, the first time I ever saw Lizzo was at Halloween. There have been so many
Nice.
acts that just fill the lineup, and you discover new genres and subgenres at events like that. So it's one of the reasons why I feel like it's always going to be my home.
Yeah. And you said something interesting about Bonnaroo. I wanted to ask you because I get asked this all the time. How do you separate, if you can, like enjoying a festival, whether you're just going for fun versus working? Like, do you have that separation and balance now that you work in this industry?
Um, no, I'm a
Yeah.
very, when work mode, I'm a very serious person. I'm a very like, let's keep to the systems and process. So for me personally, it's hard to truly and fully enjoy an event when I'm working because my focus is on making sure that my role is executed flawlessly. And that's
Mm-hmm.
not having fun and I'm not enjoying it. It's just that I'm not going to be um, the girl who can like end a shift and then go drink and party and be up super early the next
Yeah.
morning. And I need a lot of sleep, need a lot of recovery time. So
Yep.
I don't really, I don't party so much when I'm working an event. So I knew for that one, like I've got to separate it because I love it so much. I want to be able to soak it in and just spend all of those moments with my friends and really just absorbing the music. Bonnaroo is like one of the best music discovery kind of
Mm-hmm.
festivals. Wanted to be able to wander. So that was the decision
Yeah.
for I'm very all business. People always call me
Fair
like
enough.
the when I'm working festival. They know I'm not there to party. I'm there to sort of like make sure everything else is
Fair.
running really.
Yeah. But you probably learned obviously through experience and you know what's going to help you the next day. And it's definitely like a fair trade-off because you are working in an industry that you love. But I totally get you on that. I felt like that way at EDC Las Vegas this past year. That was the first time where it was like a weird separation, even with my friend group, because I was like, I'm in total work mode and had such a busy schedule. And even in like the hours that I like got off, it just didn't feel the same as the years prior. Still magical, but I was like, I couldn't take my headspace out of like, I have a job and all these interviews booked the next day. So it's like a weird, but I still wouldn't trade it for anything. You know what I mean? It's just it's tricky to like balance them fully unless you're like, when was the last event that you attended just like as a fan?
Oh, this past hula. So I worked
Okay.
pre-festival. I remember driving out to Spirit of the Swanee Music Park and stopping there's like this little gas station that if you've ever been to Swanee, you know about the Busy Bee right by the park. I remember stopping at the Busy Bee, opening my email, sending off those last few emails for things that advanced or like just getting in touch with my department head and everything and saying, all right, I'm about to go to the park. It's over. I'm enjoying
Yeah.
the week. So I did get to enjoy hula as a fan this past year. And, you know, as usual, it was a beautiful experience. I love it,
Good.
whether it's work or play. It is my favorite festival. And not only because I work there, but because it's just amazing. And the team behind it is incredible. So yeah, it's a good one.
Hell yes. I know we did the episode this past fall. I think it was already on Halloween. So I think it's on my bucket list now for sure, even just hearing from you about it. But I did want to ask you about Slumberland as well, since that's how we kind of like connected and worked together through that. How did that come about and what was it like putting together the first year of Slumberland?
I gotta be honest, it was really rough because we're such a small, tiny, like literally
Mm-hmm.
4 people from the beginning, tiny team. And we faced a lot of hurdles as an independent event. We had issues with our ticketing platform, had to switch mid-season. As you know, because you were there, day one of the
Mm-hmm.
festival, actual Florida hurricane. So we faced a lot of hurdles, but it was a beautiful experience. And I sort of got involved with that when the guy, Darren Scott reached out to me, like, hey, I'm doing this thing. Do you want to do it too? I was like, hell yeah. Like whatever he is doing, I want to be part of because he's just he's such a good human. He's such a good person to work with. You can really trust that you're going to be in a work environment where he cares about what's going on. He cares about the people he works with. He cares
Mm-hmm.
about the fans, the guests, all of that. So it really was an incredible experience. And I just, like I said, whatever he's doing, I want to be a part of because
Yeah.
I love working with him. We worked together before Slumberland, and for us, it was a good working experience. And
Good.
if Slumberland kicks back off again, then I'm down to do that forever with him and our team.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
Yeah.
great.
I'm so glad. I could not agree with you more about Darren. I was gonna say, even just from first meeting with you guys and like hearing the vision for it and what you were picturing it to then actually seeing it executed and all of the artwork and having like the energy when you first got there. There's just something special about attending events for the first time that they happen. Like it will never happen again. And I don't know. It's just like there's a different energy about it. So it was really cool to just see everything get executed, no matter, like you said, the hurdles. Like I think I rebooked my flight 3 fucking times to just get down.
Yeah.
I was so determined. I was like, I'm not missing this. I'm getting my ass down to Florida. And we made it happen. But one big thing with Summerland, which I know we talked a lot about, was the lineup, the curation, the diversity that you guys like put into that, and the emphasis on local artists in the Orlando area. Like, can you talk a little bit about what was special about the lineup for the first year?
Yeah, I think so we sort of landed on house and techno, but I think before we kind of knew that was the full direction of the event, we knew that we wanted it to be diverse. We wanted to see more women on the lineup. We wanted to see more artists of color on the lineup. And once we did kind of land on house and techno with a little bit of bass, we ended up with some bass on there. We said, all right, well, this aligns, this makes sense. We want to honor the roots of the house and techno communities. And that comes from Black, queer, femme communities. And we knew that that's where we had to go with it. And I felt really proud of that, obviously, as a woman of color, that we could do that, and that the rest of our team was just as committed to it as I was. I think that like, no matter what, as we were making decisions, we were saying, does this sort of fit the overall mission that we have? Does this put more diversity on the stages? But we also made those behind the scenes too. We made sure that our departments were staffed with more non-man, more people of color. We were intentional about, instead of just saying, hey, I've worked with this guy before, like he's going to be great, saying, all right, really search our networks, put the call out there, and make everyone that's applying for these roles aware that like diversity is important to us. And it's not say that we're doing it, it's to make sure that we're building the kind of industry that we want to work in. So
Amazing.
Very cool experience.
Yeah, no, every single detail like was so well thought out. And even just from bumping into some of the artists on site, like they were getting down. They were
Yeah.
hanging out at the after parties. They were throwing after parties and renegade sets. Like it was just really, really like you could tell how much they enjoyed being a part of it and seeing their friends on the lineup and everything. And like it's not a lineup that I've seen before. And I did want to just talk to you and get your opinion on it because now having a little bit more knowledge of the industry, I feel like I understand a little bit more how lineup curation works, but we still get these mainstream festivals that it just feels like a recycled lineup with like a couple names switched out. So like, what does that come down to in your opinion?
It comes down to a couple different factors, and talent buyers are going to look at what is going to sell, what's popular.
Mm-hmm.
And if they know that this one male DJ has been on their lineup for the last couple of years and the audience has responded, of course, they're going to book that same guy over and
Mm-hmm.
over. I think that the responsibility is on promoters and talent buyers to look outside of what has worked already and take some chances on other more diverse acts. But I get it. I feel like I'm in the interesting middle place where now, as an agent who has
Mm-hmm.
a primarily female roster of artists, I'm always pushing like book more women, book more people of color, do all of this. But
Mm-hmm.
then I understand, coming from especially producing Slumberland, that like, yes, we can book this one artist because it aligns with the mission and it does, put more women on our lineup. But we also have to sell tickets to survive. And we
Mm-hmm.
know male artists will slam dunk sell those tickets. So it's a tough place to be in. And I think that we
Mm-hmm.
have to build a culture where everyone's willing to take the chance, and where even before those talent buying decisions are being made, we're supporting and elevating more diverse artists as they grow their careers. Like, let's go
Right.
out and look for the diversity when we're going to our local shows, when we're buying tickets to events. If we want to see the change, we have to be it. So
Mm-hmm.
it starts with all of us, as cliche as that is to say.
Yeah. No, amen. That was so well said. I think it wasn't eye-opening to me necessarily, but I think just learning about how many tickets those like main headliners move, like
Yeah.
even because I think like we're in the scene, so obviously we have a little bit more knowledge about like other artists or up and coming people versus like if it's a massive festival with like hundreds of thousands of people attending, like I didn't just realize like how much Armin van Buren or Alesso or Tiesto is literally moving the festival versus like everybody else that's filled in
Yeah.
below them. So it is pretty crazy to see like the balance that has to happen. But yeah, I feel like once a name, I don't know if you noticed this, but like once a name, or like I'll see this with female artists, like a female artist will blow up and then they'll be everywhere, which like I want to name Honey Love because I fucking love Honey Love, but like she blew up and then she was on like every lineup all of a sudden. So I feel like once a festival also books somebody and gets behind it, it's like I feel like all these other festivals then latch on to that artist as well. But yeah, I want to see like more new names coming onto the scene.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's like, it only takes a talent buyer to say, we're going to take a chance on this one artist.
Mm-hmm.
And with the example of Honey Love, like one good festival makes the difference. And you're going to be booked on a bunch of other festivals, and clubs are demanding that same artist. So like taking the chance where you can. And I have to
Mm-hmm.
say, talent buyer over a festival, you always can take a chance on one
Right.
artist. You can replace one act on that lineup with a woman or a person of color or
Mm-hmm.
colored.
Yeah.
That chance can be taken, and it could make the difference in someone's career. It could make the difference in the way the audience perceives a festival. So again, it comes back to singular decisions by one person, but we all have to support it, and we all have to go out and support those artists as they grow their careers, to make the
Mm-hmm.
case, hey, this artist will sell these tickets, so please put them on the lineup, build them a little bit higher, like
Yeah.
grow. So
Definitely. And like you said, with Summerland behind the scenes as well, like it will also help having more people of color, more women in this industry in those positions too, which like I'm still fascinated. I have no idea where careers will go in the future. I love the festival side of things, but for me at least, like having the podcast was like, okay, there's one more female podcaster out there in like a male dominated space, especially in the EDM world. So like anybody else who's listening, who's interested in like getting into this industry, there's so many of these positions that need to be filled and so many new people who need to come in. And speaking, you mentioned agent, by the way, how has that been going? And what is an agent like? What is your role? What does your day-to-day life look like?
So as an agent, my role is to sell the live show of my roster. So
Yep.
it's really interesting. A couple of the artists from the Slumberland lineup have ended up on my roster. I have DJ Eclipse and I have Vicky B, who's amazing. And, I was just having this conversation with Vicky on a call yesterday. It's like being a woman in dubstep, because that's, she plays a lot of different genres, but sort of her central, like that's what we're putting out there. It's so hard. It is so the pretty girl in dubstep when they're like, oh, I want like this guy, it's going to be rough. And it's like, we really have to think about how we position her live show. And we really see her win a lot this year because there are lots of girls in dubstep. They're just getting those opportunities to play these festivals. So
definitely.
It's interesting being an agent now, coming from like PR and management, because I'm like, I can help you build the brand that's going to kind of translate into the live show. And now I get to sell that live show. And it's a very cool, it's a really cool role, So I have these one-to-one conversations with talent buyers saying, listen, this is a female artist that's just as good, going to sell just as many tickets as this other want to put on your lineup. So now being in the position to have that conversation feels really good, because I never was before. Like I couldn't convince a talent buyer that he should book more, but now I can. So it's very cool.
Crazy. And how does that work? Just like, because so much of this industry is networking as well. Like, are you getting to know so many more people on the other side, like the talent bookers and stuff, who like build up that trust with you? So whoever you're pitching in the future, like they kind of know that you're going to bring them somebody really good.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of been the name of the game for me in transitioning to this agent role, is just really getting to know one-to-one talent buyers and building new relationships, because I do want them to trust me that I will bring them something good. I wouldn't sign it I didn't think was good. So building those relationships is really important. Luckily, I had some relationships in place just from other roles. I've sort of had to reintroduce myself to people. Like, hey, I worked with you on sponsorship before, or PR thing before, but now I'm an agent and let's talk about this.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Oh, that's so cool. So what, compared to other roles that you've had, like on the festival side or with PR, what's the most challenging part of being an agent, and what's the most rewarding part?
I think the challenging part is just knowing that an artist's bread and butter is their tour. It's their live show. And I'm solely responsible for that with my roster of artists. Like I've got to sell that show. So that's a little stressful. Luckily I thrive under pressure. Rewarding part is like when you get that contract signed and you're like, oh my God, my artist on the roster gets to play this incredible event that like, it's just a dream to have them on X lineup. So that's definitely the best part. That's the drug right there, is just getting that signed for something incredible.
Wow. And then because I don't know how any of this works, but is this like the same across the board? Like, are you pitching everything from like local shows to tours to festivals, like anything that they could be playing essentially?
Essentially, yes. So my role at Degy is a little bit different. If you're someone in the industry, you may know Degy as like a college talent buying agency. So the primary Degy roster, we're selling to colleges, when you have your spring or your homecoming, or if your college had that, they were probably buying talent from Degy.
Got it.
So my role as a new agent at Degy is sort of to build the roster in a little bit of a different way, to bring more of the artists into the clubs and mainstream festivals. So my roster is filled with things that probably wouldn't sell to colleges, like up DJ. So it's really interesting. I feel like I can take a lot of ownership of building my roster the way I want to. I'm always a fan first, so I'm going to sign the acts that I would want to see on a festival stage or at a club or whatever. So yes, I'm everywhere, but my focus is clubs and festivals.
Oh, okay. Okay. I did not prepare you with this question before, so it's okay if you don't, but I just popped into my head. I'm just curious, and it does not have to be dance music related, but like if you had your own festival and you could curate, like, let's say like your 3 to 5, like they would be on your lineup, you'd be booking them immediately. Who would you want to book?
Oh, wow. That is, I,
I know.
you know, like, people ask me like, oh, what do you listen to? What's your favorite band or DJ? And I literally don't know. My brain just melts when
Yeah,
someone,
yeah. Okay, fair enough.
I, I truly do like everything. Lately, obviously, like everyone else on the planet, I've been really into the new Skrillex, both albums.
Hmm.
Um, I a friend of mine introduced me to a duo. If you're in the house deep house scene, they're called Adriatique.
Yeah.
And are I'm obsessed. I cannot stop listening. They just did a circle where it's sort of like putting DJs in a room.
Yes. This came up on my TikTok today.
They just did a circle set. I can't get enough of them. They have no US dates for this year, but like
Wow.
announce a US date, I'm clearing my calendar. I don't care what's happening. Like I'm obsessed with them. So they would be a headliner for me no matter what.
Damn.
You mentioned Honey Love, obsessed with her.
Yep.
I would definitely obviously put my own artists on this lineup. I'm actually wearing a Mayada shirt today.
Yeah.
Mayada is a high vibe neo soul, little bit R&B artist that I actually signed a long time ago as I was her manager. And then when I moved over to Degy, I said, "Hey, you want to find a new manager and come over to my,
Yeah, I love it.
And she did. She's amazing. If you are at all into neo soul or even pop that leans towards R&B, like check out Mayada. She's incredible. Again, DJ Eclipse, one of my favorite house DJs. He is honestly, he's so legendary. And I think that not enough people recognize that. I want
Hmm.
to be as obsessed with DJ Eclipse as I am. He incredible, comes sort of from the hip hop world, was a touring DJ for some rap and hip hop acts. And I feel like he still infuses that into his sets. So he's really fun to watch. And he's just got like really dope ideas about music and where it's going. So
That's
him,
awesome.
and then Vicky B, the
Yeah.
dubstep. I love. She threw down at Slumberland. She's been doing a lot in Central Florida. So if you don't know Vicky B yet, check her out. Dubstep. She's such a good person, but
Hell
also
yeah.
like her fire. Like you're gonna get rowdy. You're gonna have a good time. So I don't know. That's a handful of artists that I would probably put on there.
That's
And if
good.
hour, I could go down a list.
No, no, that's like a nice mix though. You have like a range of artists. And I know like I agree with you. There's more and more women popping up in dubstep, but I just feel like I'm excited about it. I think we're going to see even more. I've had a couple artists come on, like I had Jeannie and Lays come on, and it's just there's something about the energy of their shows. It's fantastic. So I think this year we're going to see even more. So Vicky B, we're going to add Vicky B to the list.
Go check if you a club that's doing dubstep nights, request Vicky B because she is dope. She's amazing.
So cool. And it's awesome to see like all of your connections kind of like coming together. It's so funny. Like I feel like because we've spoken on so many different brands already too. I feel like I'll pick up the phone and then like we're talking about another thing. And I feel like that's happening now with Beatbox too. I'll get on these like festival calls and someone will be on the other end and they're like, why are you on this call right now? I'm like, oh, I work for Beatbox now. So it's cool to see like, all these roles that you've had and like how they've led to the next job and they end up becoming like interconnected. It is so much about networking. Like you're building relationships with all these different people in the industry that can kind of like help out in the future. So it's super cool to see how far you've come and what you're doing now. And I had to end off by asking like, how do you balance all of this while being a mom of 3?
Man, it's a lot. I think for me, it's really just about staying super organized and learning as I have over the last, like, probably since like the first COVID days,
Mm-hmm.
just to say no more often. I think that especially as women in the industry, we're we're afraid to say no because we don't want to look like we can't compete with the men in the industry that are just saying yes and getting it done. But I think there's a lot of strength in saying no, and I'm learning that a lot. Projects come across my desk all the time where, they demand my time and energy, and I've just learned to say, hey, I can't focus on that right now. I'm doing XYZ, but thank you for thinking of me. And that fear of disappointing people is sort of melting away, like a recovering people pleaser. So
yeah.
I think that learning to balance and stay organized and just saying no when you need to is super important. Luckily, I think my kids think that my job is pretty cool. So it's not, I think that they don't quite understand what I do. A lot don't, but I think that they understand when I'm like, hey, it's, I'm going to put you to bed tonight and I'm going to go out to this event. It's not like I'm just going out to have fun. I'm actually going to work, but it is fun. But I think that just like creating an understanding of like, I don't work a 9 to 5. I'm never going to be that mom that's in a cubicle and then I come home and my work day is done. So just communicating, what needs to happen, having a good support system. That's really sort of the only way I'm balancing it, is that great support.
That's so, I could not agree with you more with saying no. There's something so empowering as you get older about learning like the word no. And it does feel, I don't know. I feel like it also, because people might come back, you can say not right now, but like maybe in the future. And I feel like it also shows that like, what's best for you and you're respecting your own time, which I think people like makes people respect you more. But I do have a question about balancing like the nightlife aspect of the job, because I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but when I think into the future too, with having kids and things like that, like, did you ever feel guilt because our job is fun and you get to go do these really fun things? So it almost seems like you're not working, but we both know, like, obviously it's still very much a job. Like, how do you balance that, like, mentally?
I don't, to be honest. Every single time I go to work, I feel guilty because it's one of those things, and there are probably parents that can separate it. I personally cannot. If I'm going on a festival weekend and my 4-year-old's like, but I'm gonna miss you.
Yeah.
That's so hard, and it doesn't ever get easier. So it's just one of those things where you have to recognize they don't understand now, but my kids, at least, they're not doing this when their dad has to go to work or go on a weekend trip. So I'm like, this is not a me thing. It's a cultural. I have to be able to say, I'm taking a few days. I will be right back. And you bring them some kind of treat, some kind of merch or something.
Yeah,
no, but I do feel guilty all the time. And I know a lot of other parents in the industry, they feel guilty as well, but they know that, while our jobs are fun, they're difficult. And, it is a real job, a very, very real job. So we just sort of have to say, we're going to feel guilty temporarily, but we're going to keep pushing because this is the dream. We're very lucky to have,
For sure. And have any, I guess they haven't reached the age yet, but do you want to take them to shows and festivals?
I have taken my kids to a few shows. I feel like there are going to be comments about this. There might be some hate about it, but my daughter, when she was 6 months old, I took her for a day, like for a couple hours, to Hulu, the string cheese theme set on Saturday night. I wasn't going to miss it. So I mean, I think that if it's an appropriate event to bring kids to, like, I would definitely do it. If I'm working, absolutely not. But, it's, I don't know. They enjoy music as much as I do. So why not take them to a show to experience it?
100%. Yeah, it's cool. And then they get to see what you're doing. Like, I loved seeing, I saw probably the most kids at Electric Forest this past year. And same thing. Like, I don't know if the parents were, I'm assuming, like, in hotels or like how they worked it out at night, but just during the day, like, they were loving all the things they could interact with. We traded they had the most candy on them that I've seen. Like, these kids are walking out of these festivals doing just fine. So
teaching them, we talk so much about like pushing forward and continuing this culture of plur, and it's like teach them, they'll go into the world with those ideals and treating people with peace and love and respect and doing what they're supposed to do. So I don't know. I think if it's a safe environment and the parents or whoever's with them is keyed into taking care of them, then a great experience, right?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's cool. I love if there is the ability to do that. I think it's awesome. And also if you never know what they want to do later in life as well. And like I went to my first festival I think I was 15, maybe 14. I wanted to go earlier and my mom said no to those first few like rock shows, but Bamboozle Festival was my first one. And we were in 8th grade and my friend's mom came with us and just like stood a few feet away from us at like all the sets. But if we didn't have that first event and exposure to it, like I wouldn't have gone the 8 years after it. And it was just such like a cool, freeing experience at that age. So I'm kind of, I know like people shit on the all ages festivals for a good reason, but some of them are in place, I think, for a good reason too, because then they get to experience these things and you never know where it will lead them in life.
Yeah. I think there's a time and a place. The first, and when you asked me about the first festival, I didn't really even think about this, but the first technically festival tour situation that I went to without an adult, like it was me and like 3 of my was, if you remember the Taste of Chaos tour, if you were into that emo rock scene in the early and that was like, it was at an arena, like probably 20 minutes from my house. My friend's mom dropped us off and we were like, oh my God, like we get to do this, no adults. And it was insane. I think that, that probably helped me want to work in the industry, but it showed me like, here's how I want to go into the world and treat people when I'm out at shows and treat people now. So yeah, it's an interesting experience.
Very true. Well, it's cool to see how everything has come full circle and I'm excited. So I guess this year, really quickly before we wrap up, so what are you working on event wise as well, or will we see you out at any festivals?
I will be at every festival that my roster of artists is playing at.
Amazing.
On the road with my clients. I know for sure, like I said, Halloween is always home. I love the team behind that. So you had Michael Berg on the podcast a while ago. I was talking to him probably towards the end of last year. And I was like, I don't think I'll be back in sponsorship. I have a lot of other stuff coming on, but like, I will be at Hula. I will never miss a Hula.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. And just a quick shout out to Team Hula, because a lot of people don't know this. It is like primarily women behind the scenes of that festival. So a huge shout out there. We were talking about diversity and and in places to make decisions. And Hula is one of the places where I definitely see that in action. And awesome. One of the other reasons why I just won't miss it. I love that team. I love that festival. The venue is gorgeous. So I'll definitely be there. But other than that, who knows? We'll see how my artist calendars fill up, where else I end up.
Okay. It's going to be a busy year. I have a feeling. Last up, plug where people can connect with you on your social handles.
Oh man. I mean, I'm always on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at Harvey, Harvey, Kayla, Kayla 88. I should probably change that to something cooler, but you can find me on Instagram. I will, follow me, DM me, ask me questions. I'm always down. I love to connect with people. It's one of my favorite things. I always say I'm a connector. And that's, I think, why we've connected on so many different conversations about different things. Someone's like, I have a solution for that. I know someone for that. Yeah. So talk.
I love it. And I'll link all your artists below as well, so people can check out everybody on your roster. But thank you so much for your time today. This was awesome. Guys, go give Kayla some love and support.